Hello and welcome back to the Us Weekly Bachelor Recap Show. I'm Jared Freid. We're here every week to go through the craziness that is The Bachelor. Last night was a very special combo episode. It was the end of the fantasy suites combined with the women's tell-all. We start out where we left off. Madison has run away from Peter and she's not happy. Basically, Madison said the thing that no one can disagree with. She said, I don't want to marry someone 6 days after he's been in bed with 2 other women. All of us can see eye to eye with that statement. She's completely right. If they met in a bar a week ago, yes, you would be right, Madison. But you've been on a show for 2 months. That's the problem. That's where the debate comes in. She is casually ignoring that she went on a show where a guy named Peter Weber, who's best known for Keebler elfing in a windmill, is the lead character. So, and she's kept this information. So we've gotten over that hump. Madison's going to take some time to think about it. Peter shows up at the Gold Coast Mountain View. Hannah Ann's there, Victoria F's there, and they're like, where is Madison? Peter's looking off in the distance. He's like, hello? Please don't leave me here with Victoria. Please, Madison, show up. Finally, Madison shows up. I gotta say, I've never noticed Chris Harrison's age until this season. Him next to Hannah Ann, it looks like Hannah Ann's talking to her grandfather about the time before iPhones. What was it like before TikTok? That's kind of what he looks like. But Chris Harrison brings back Madison. All 3 are out on the mountain. Peter gives the rose to Hannah Ann first. They have a big hug and a kiss. And then it's between Victoria and Madison gets the rose. And she comes over. Peter hands her the rose. He's like, will you take this? And there's like a moment where you're like, why would she walk all over? Why would she come here to say no to the rose? Why? Is there a contractual obligation? Because he looks at her and she goes, yeah, I'll take the rose. She takes the rose in the least I want to take the rose way. She's like, I'll take the rose, and then touches it and goes, and she's like, oh, Jesus, I'm sorry, God. Takes the rose. Peter even says, are you sure? And it's like, no, nobody's sure. Nobody is sure on this show. That's the whole premise, is that we're all here not sure why the hell we're getting married after 2 months. Nobody's sure. Victoria F is sent home. Victoria F, for as emotional as she's been all season, takes it in stride. She hops in the limo and she's like, it is what it is. It was like Victoria, she's like, bring me to the nearest honky tonk. Bring me to a man with a guitar. I'll find a way to get over this. And it's like, okay, she gets taken away. We come back to the women tell-all. Chris Harrison is sitting with all the former contestants with a packed studio audience of... Can we talk for a second of who goes to this taping? Who on earth is making a t-shirt and making a sign and leaving work early to get through traffic to be at the Women Tell All taping? I mean, I call it the Dome of the Undateables. Nobody seems more single than the people who show up to the Women Tell All taping. They're just like, hey, nobody has anything to do for the next 6 months, right? Let's all go. Yeah, sure. Bring your sign. Stop in at Michael's and glitter up a We Love Pilot Peter sign. I mean, people are dressed up. People are in their finest Saturday going out, girl night out outfits. It's unbelievable. We get to the Women Tell All, and now we're going to start getting the conversations. And we start out with Victoria P versus Alea. They dig into that relationship, which Chris Harrison is even like, hey, we don't know how much you guys know each other. You guys have played a shell game with your relationship. We have no idea how much Alea knows Victoria P, how much they hung out in Vegas, and we know less than we knew before. Victoria P, basically Alea does nothing to dispel the idea that she's the mean girl of the house. They all kind of yell at Alea, and she just sits there like this. She does the, well, that's what you think face. That's maybe the most annoying face. Like, I guess that's your opinion. She's every person on Facebook that comments, well, that's my truth. Can't disagree with my truth. The only people that say my truth are the people that know that they could be called a liar. So they're like, well, I'll call it my truth because you can't disagree with my truth. We get to Champagne Gate. It's really my least favorite story on The Bachelor. There'll be one fun moment that all of us had fun with, and then The Bachelor becomes self-aware, and they're like, remember Champagne Gate? And we all go, ah. And it's like, okay, that was a real fight. That was someone who lost their mind about champagne and then got cocky and tried to chug from it and then it sprayed in her face. That was God helping the audience of The Bachelor have a good laugh. And now you guys get to own it. So they do a whole thing to Champagne Gate. Kelsey then does admit, which might be a Bachelor first. She admits, she's like, I might have gotten a little emotional. And everyone's like, Kelsey, wow, look at the strength. Nobody takes the loss on The Bachelor. That's really the on any of these shows. No one ever looks at the camera and goes, yeah, I got a little crazy right there. Like, no one's ever said that in the history of The Bachelor. So you got to give Kelsey credit. She does say, like, yeah, I guess it was just champagne. And then they bring out Ashley I because she begged to be on the show and she probably paid her own way out there. And she's like, I'm going to award you the Crier Award. And it's like, Ashley I, you graduated 7 years ago. It's time to move on to your new job. And she's like, please let me on the show. No one cares about me since I got married to Jared and now I have to write children's books. And it's like, okay, Ashley I, move it along. Now we get to Tammy versus Kelsey. Tammy came on the Women's Tell-All, and you're not going to find a lot of people defending Tammy. I'll defend you, Tammy. I'm Team Tammy. Tammy was the only one, whether you agree or disagree with what she was saying or how she said it, you have to admit Tammy was real on the show. Tammy wasn't afraid of looking like the bad guy and saying some things that all of us were saying on the couch with a glass of wine in our hands in our sweats. Tammy was us on the Women's Tell-All because she looks at Kelsey and she's like, yeah, you did say that everyone accuses Tammy of spreading the rumor that she's a pill popper and a drunk and an alcoholic. And it's like, yeah, all these other women were in on that. Tammy wasn't on a cliff alone yelling those things. Other people were spreading those rumors with her. So she was the only one that was just like, yeah, you said it. You said it. I don't know what we're even talking about. So now what you do on the Women's Tell-All is you have to come on and be an influencer. You have to transition out of drama Bachelor contestant and into, I love skincare. I'm about self-healing. I'm about wellness. I'm about Zen. I'm about having a yogurt in the morning before my yoga class. You have to transition into that role. So Tammy doesn't seem like she's going into that role. Tammy's like, yeah, I'm going back to being the same person that was before. The rest of these women, you could tell because they come out and they go, as a woman, we should not be fighting. Like they get very high and mighty with what they say and how they say it. So it's easy to be Tammy was the one saying everyone's an alcoholic. And it's hard to be Tammy who goes, weren't we all just talking about this on the show? This is never more apparent than when Tammy and McKenna get into it. McKenna, to me, is the worst version of someone on this show. She's going to come on and go, love is beautiful, love is blind. She's going to give the maid of honor speech that we all kind of clap for, and we go, what? Did any of that make sense? We need to have more. And Tammy calls her out. McKenna goes on these soliloquies. She's like, I think we need more love in the world. And she's like, are you done? Did you get done with your rehearsed speech? And it's like, I'm sitting at home like, Tammy. No one in that audience is going to take Tammy's side. No one's going to clap for. She did get laughs. That's the thing. That's how you know, because laughing is an involuntary movement, an involuntary guttural experience. Clapping is, I know I should clap. So McKenna's going to get a lot of these. Like, yeah. Love is beautiful. We're all equal. And Tammy's going to get the, oh, That's the difference. That's the difference between dishonesty and honesty. Because then McKenna gets one last shot. Chris Harrison gives the floor to McKenna, Chris Harrison says, "McKenna, you've obviously rehearsed some lines. Let me give you the last word on Tammy." And McKenna uses this time to not only disparage Tammy, but all Americans. She says, "Why don't you come to Canada where we're nice people?" And it's like, whoa, when did I get pulled into this? Oh, now it's a bunch of, now it's like McKenna, I don't mean to like do the leave our country thing, but I'm gonna for 2 seconds. Why don't we cut out all your American Instagram followers that are such mean people and get rid of them? I don't think you can. I don't think there are enough in north of Vancouver Instagram blogger followers to help you out. We go to Kelsey's going to relive her season. Kelsey gets a montage that seemed like it was created by the Kelsey for President 2020 campaign. What a revision that she got. I mean, Kelsey, you would have thought she was the hero of the season. You would have thought she was going to be chosen to be the next Bachelorette. They're like, oh, the moments you had and how beautiful it was. They never once showed Kelsey hammered drunk, not being able to put together a sentence. Instead, it was Kelsey in the hills and Kelsey and hugging and kissing. And it's like, where's the scene where Kelsey was an emotional mess? Where's that scene? Oh, you took it out? Okay. Now we bring Victoria to the hot seat. Victoria comes to the hot seat. And I got to say, the seat wasn't so hot for her. I think Victoria has had such a tough Bachelor run that this was really the only way they could go. I think she comes on the seat. They basically are like, have you broken up marriages? What's she going to say? The Victoria stuff is unclear. We don't know how true, but she's denying it. She's like, I've never broken up marriages. And all of the women of America roll their eyes at once. Then she's asked about, how could a woman come up to you out of nowhere to warn Peter? And she's like, that's someone who hates me. And it's like, Victoria, one instance you'd go, it's one thing. Then you start adding them all up and you're like, oh, I'm going to stay away from this woman, whether they're true or not. There's one accusation, two accusation, a woman coming out of the woods to warn Peter like she's a soothsayer in Roman times, being like, don't go with Peter. That's when you start going, okay, I don't care if it's true or false. We're just going to stay away from you. So Victoria F. Actually kind of lands on her sword a little bit. She says, Peter's a great guy. Peter gets nothing but, good lucks from Victoria. I think she's kind of happy to end this situation. Now we're going to go and have some fun. This is kind of the worst part of the Bachelor Women's Tell-All. They're going to go crash other Dome of Undateables in different towns around America. They go to these different parties and they're going to go crash with Peter and his parents. That's the big turnaround. We're bringing his kooky parents who like to have sex. And it's like, okay. So Peter, his mom, his dad, and Chris go around America to crash Bachelor viewing parties. These Bachelor viewing parties, they must have known the cameras were showing up, because if this is how they watch The Bachelor every week, these are the saddest people in the entire world. There are heart-shaped cutouts. There's pictures of Peter on the wall. There's a windmill cake. Peter looks at the cake. He's like, wow, you got the windmill on the cake. And it's like, that's like, at that point, doesn't he go, that's where I had sex. That's where I went down on Hannah 4 times. Oh my God, Mom, look at the cake. Look at it. That's the slum I had sex in. Like, what's going on? What is happening? And then all of a sudden there's parents, there's older people dressed as pilots and stewardesses. They brought their role play costumes out of the closet, and because it's The Bachelor, they're just allowed to wear it in front of the kids. The kid's like, what's that, Mom? She's like, oh, it's lube. It's from the other night. Don't worry. Like, what is going on at these parties? So they surprise the people. At one point, there's a chant. All these girls, like the Kappa Deltas, come out and they're like, we love you, Peter. Oh, yes, we do. We love you, Peter. We need a boyfriend. Please don't tell her. Moms, we're still single. They won't stop asking. Please, God, find us a man. Like, it's like bizarre. Like, what dimension have we flown into? We get to the end of the Bachelor party crashers, and there's a scene that is the most... I don't want to bring up another show during the Bachelor recap show because we're all Bachelor fans. Love is Blind is nipping at your heels, okay? And it's because of the crap they pulled last night. You have this scene where Chris and Peter walk up to their car that they're supposedly driving across America to crash these parties, and the car they're like, is that car shaking? And it's like, no, it's not shaking. And then they open up the back seat and it's like, and they put in subtitles. They're like, I love it when you touch me there. Where is he touching you, Peter's mom? Did he touch your readers? Is that what he touched? Like, what are we talking about? Then they get in the car and they're like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. Was that, we know it's not real. We know the mom and dad weren't literally having sex in the car, and Peter and Chris Harrison walked in on them and they're like, throw it on TV, put it on ABC. So it's like, are we supposed to live in this like scripted world that exists in The Bachelor? Like, what's going on right now? This is why Love is Blind is catching up to you, Bachelor. This is why people are going elsewhere, because we don't need this scene. I would have taken an interview on the hot seat with Sydney just to look at her for 5 minutes rather than this whole mom banged dad in the car bit. And now I got to think of the mom. The mom is out of her mind, okay? We have been watching a preview of her all season going, bring her back to us. And it's like for a woman that she might have met for 3 minutes. So this is a crazy person. We move on from the bang bus to go to Victoria and Peter. They bring out Peter. Peter's brought out. Peter, I have to say, Peter, as bad of a bachelor and as weak of a bachelor as he's been, Peter handles these questions flawlessly. Peter takes every question. He seems to be well-liked. The one thing they keep talking about is that he's like seems to invite drama, that he kept people around, and he answers it as well as a politician would answer these questions. He's like, hey, listen, we all look back and see how where we would have went differently. And you kind of have a moment where you go, oh, I get why Peter was chosen to The Bachelor. This is actually the first time I was like, I get Peter. The first time. If he had been this guy the whole show, we'd have a little more respect for him. But the way he answered the questions, it was really well done. And we get to the end, and him and Victoria, they kind of make up, and all's well that ends well. And then we head to the bullying campaign, which is very nice. They bring out Rachel Lindsay. She's talking about the online hate that a lot of these people receive. Yeah, it sounds horrible and vicious. I mean, I thought reading the texts and the tweets, I think it makes it more real. Absolutely. Good on you, Bachelor. And then we move on to bloopers. And I got to say, I'm not usually a fan of the bloopers. This time, the old guy sneaking up behind him, that's all of us watching The Bachelor. I think we all saw ourselves in the mirror through that old guy just creeping and lurking. I know I saw me. That's it. Next week, we have a very special 2-part season finale of The Bachelor. We'll be back next week. Boom.